Hi everyone, I am Michael from E2 Studios. My primary role is web development, mostly on the front end elements, but I have a huge amount of enjoyment, which is an odd part to say, but through analytics. So I'm sure for people that are in the tech areas, who has used Google Analytics? Yeah. So we use one, someone might have heard of one of these beforehand. Has anyone ever used one called Matomo Analytics? No? So we use a system called Matomo Analytics instead of Google Analytics. Rationale for that is, firstly, it's fairly lightweight. It allows more modification on what you can store on a user in terms of GDPR compliance. So we also now don't store certain key indicators for clients. And also we house all the data. So Google's not selling our data to the highest bidder. So that's why we started to use Matomo Analytics. And what I'm going to demonstrate today is some of the stuff that is in Matomo. We've pushed it into a system called Footfall, which is our internal system for it, for our clients and ourselves, and a few web development companies that utilize our system for their clients as well. I'm going to be going through that, showing you what's on there, showing what can be done within it. And you'll also see, for anyone that's used things like Hotjar, kind of like a heat map systems, it also has some functionalities like those, but without having to get another third-party system involved as well. So I will share my screen. I know we had a brief look at it before, and it's hard to see some of the text because it's analytics. However, I will attempt to guide as much as I can through this process, and you don't really need to see the text too much. I'll probably talk about more of that as I go through it. So this is the dashboard. I've zoomed in. It looks like that generally. But what we've basically got access is similar stuff to Google Analytics. We've got our visits in real time. We've got our visitation map. We've got elements about what people are up to on the site, certain moves and shakers, where people are coming from channel types, and a few other statistics. Now, we've been using this for, I would probably say, closing on to a year now. We've been using this. This client that we're looking at now, New Nutrition, have given us access to provide some people a different view of their data, so you guys can see what it looks like for a real customer as well, who's in the wild, so to speak. So I'm actually going to go for a full month rather than September. So what we basically see here is, so I go to visitors. So some of the statistics are going to be some of the stuff you've seen before in things like Google. So we get information on visitors. So how many visits they've got, how many uniques, how many page views people are doing, average duration on the website, etc. What we found with this is the information is fairly easier to get to than something like Google Analytics. This one's a long one. It's a full log of the visitors for the whole month. But we can see here, at the end of the month, 31st, someone from Orlando was on the site. We blocked the IPs, it's all anonymized. But we can also see their trajectory on the site. So where they started their journey, how they've gone through the site, if they've refreshed the pages, how many actions they've done. But you can see like the full journey of that user throughout this part. And you can also see if they've come back a few times. We don't store too much of that because we don't store cookies on them. So we don't know too much about returning users in our application. But you can also see if they come through different campaigns, if they came through email campaigns, and it's all compatible with a variety of different options as well. And most of it configures itself. We don't have to configure those campaigns ourselves. Also got real-time options. I can't really do that because we're looking at previous month. We also have some of the other base information that you would come to expect. So countries, so we can drill down to different countries, cities, whatever else. We can see where the people are coming from, what regions are the highest ones within that area, the top cities, the browsers, languages that people are accessing it via. Similar to those as well, we can get devices, so we can see where devices are coming from, more screen sizes, etc. That's some of the base stuff that we get from some of the visit stuff. The real cool stuff is getting into things like behaviors and acquisitions and forms. So with behaviors, some of the stuff that you would probably see beforehand, but this one gives you a lot more information about, this is the top page. So the top page, so some background, New Nutrition is a website that specializes in things like healthy eating, balanced diets, all that kind of stuff. So their highest page is, why am I always hungry at night? How to have better self-control with food, overcoming the fear of weight gain. But you can see their page views over the month, the unique page views, the bounce rate, so a fairly low bounce rate, which is good. Average time on the page, not mega long. exit rates, and then the average page load times that goes through there as well. But we can get more analytics on these, so we can also see the users that went onto that site and where they went to as well. It's a fairly long one, this one, with a month's worth. We can see page transitions. See if I can get on here. Can't get on this page. So we can see loads of information about how this users use the system. We can also see their transitions. So can you guys see this very well, this page? I know it's quite small text. But what we can see is on this Why Am I Always Hungry at Night, they've got 3,222 page views. We can see that 39 of those people came from an internal page on the system. 1,505 came from search engines, 15 of them came from social networks, 16 came from different websites, and 52 came directly to that page. But we can see here where that's broken down. So in search engines, they came from unknown, we don't track those. From social networks, they all came from Instagram, and from different websites, they came from things like Linktree. We can also see where they go after they've been to this page. So generally speaking, if people go here, they also navigate to how to navigate emotional eating, how to stop dieting and eating normally. And then you can also see if they've gone externally. So they've gone to Facebook and they've gone to share it, which is always a good metric. And they've also gone to another link from the article. And then 1,559 have exited this page at the end of their journey. So it shows a full kind of trajectory of that user's journey. We can see the top entry pages. So the first page that they get to on this website, Hungry at Night, self-control. The majority of their activity comes through search engines, which is why the index is generally not the highest one. They've come through, find it through a blog post. Exit pages, good metric on this one as well, because we can also see where are people exiting and are we not targeting in the right way? So we're not doing the right call to action for them to hopefully go to a different page. Generally something like, book, reclaim your intuition, which is kind of the booking page. We can see the site search. So if they don't have a site search, but if they had a site search, it'll show those. Any outlinks where they're going to afterwards, if they've downloaded anything, engagements, how long people generally engage on the site for. And we can also see things like the transitions, but in more detail, we can go to the different pages and see what people are doing from all different page views. You can even click these as well and go through them and see what people are up to on those parts. Acquisitions is another really good one because this one now gives us more data about where people are coming from for those channels. So we can see here, out of all the page visits, the vast majority, 80% of the users from here came through search engines. So we've got done nearly 12,000 actions. They usually do about 2.4 actions per visit. They generally stay on the site for about a minute, and then they've got a 7% bounce rate. But we can see where they've come through, what keywords they've searched through on Google to get where here. So most of it is the name of the company, Always Hungry at Night, Extreme Hunger at Night, Why Am I Always Hungry, Online Nutrition List, and this is how they get into this page. We've then got some that have just come directly to the website. We've got some that have come through different campaigns, and you can see the different campaigns here as well. You've got the websites, so if any have come through external websites, so Whelp Magazine or wherever else, you can see them there. And then you can also see social media networks and where they're coming from for those as well. But you can also then compare it to different bounce rates, whether people from social media have less reliance than people that come directly or whatever else. They've definitely got a higher bounce rate by the looks of it. But we can then go into a lot more depth of detail into these parts as well. So you can see they come through mobiles or different parts, but you can also go through and see the visitors log and see what kind of pages that they're getting to from this system. But all of it's accessible just from this one part. As I was saying before, you can have it where it links different campaigns. Some of these are external campaigns, nothing to do with this system. Things like MailChimp will automatically generate things like if you create a campaign on Facebook or something like that, they'll automatically go through here because they use the same logic. But you can create your own campaign URL. So if you were to send someone a unique URL, you could know if you were tracking those campaigns when they come back. We don't really set up many goals, but you can set up conversion goals, similar to you can on Google. But the one thing I do find a little bit more easy with this system, because on Google, you guys, if people have used, you probably use something like Google Tag Manager, where you can also link the tags. So if if you guys have used that before, you'll probably notice that that is a completely separate system. You then have to create the tags. Then you have to go into Google Analytics and create the event and go through that whole process to link them back up together. And now with the new Googles, you have to wait 24 hours for that to come in actuality. It's not automatic. Whereas this one works straight away and you don't have to do a whole separate system. It's all part of the one system. So you can create and manage all of your goals, book in appointments, what triggers that event, etc. And you can set all the rules. You can even set a potential revenue. So if you're saying on average, every time someone clicks this link, then you're getting £99.99p. They'll go through that process. We've then got sales funnels. We've not actually run any sales funnels as of yet. We've got a few that we were practicing with on this one, but we've not really looked into it too much. But it allows you to see what a sales funnel would look like and what your conversion rates are if you set them in place. You can also see things like media and A and B testing allows it similarly you can on Google. Heat maps is a really cool one. So if people have utilized things like have it there, heat maps on Google on Hotjar, it'll show us where people have clicked on. So let's wait for this one to load. Okay, smooth. So we've got different options whether you want to look at clicks, movements, or scroll. So you can see this absolute mess of a system now of all these colors. So we can see though really clearly that actually the majority of people coming here are going to the about page or work with us or articles, but you can see everywhere where the person has moved their cursor and where they're generally heading. But what we can also do, and I find this one quite a good one to show people, is the scroll. So we can see here, as you'd imagine, above the fold, 100% of people see that. It's the first part they see. But as you scroll down, actually, if this was your main area, only 32% of your audience is actually getting to this section. And further down, only 22%, 23% get to the actual footer. So generally speaking, no one's going to subscribe because only a quarter of your user base is even getting to that page to actually get a subscription. But you can see that on all the different device types. So whether you want to look at it on PC, tablet, mobile, and there is a part in the system where you can preset your own custom dimensions if you want to, if you wanted to look at random different versions. But again, on mobile, probably even less ability to get to the bottom. But yeah, this subscribe, only 10% of people are going to get there on a mobile, generally speaking. But all this is built into the actual application without having to add new things. You just add that one shortcode the same way you do on Google Analytics, and it'll put it on there. We've then got screen recordings. So this one looks scarier now in terms of what can be done. So if we go to, I'll get something with more page views. There we go. All right. So if you guys can see this now and all these lines going everywhere, this shows the user's journey, where they've moved their cursor, what they've clicked on. Now, this isn't an actual recording. It's not like an MP4 file. It's recording the movement in like a JSON and then just replaying the system as if it was building it from scratch now. So it doesn't record typing or anything like that. It's just recording where people's specific mouse cursor was as an X and Y coordinate and then relaying the actual website on top of it. But you can see the full user journey of where people are going to, what the activity are. But the really good part about this is you can also then look at, what people are not filling in, or if people are having, issues or anything like that. It gives you a lot more clarity about what's going on the site and how your users are interacting with that website, which we don't generally get through some of the other systems that we utilize. This one I've just sped up. They've been on the site for quite some time. This one's just fast forward into the bits where they're actually doing something actively. But yeah, because this user was on the site for a long time. This is just 2 minutes on this one page and then another, second on that page. They did not care about that page, 7 seconds, etc. So it goes through the journey and it's just fast forwarding through this one, but you can turn off all the fast forwarding and just do it on real time if you wanted to, but it's fairly slow. But that's all the stuff that you can do on this system. There is custom reports. If you wanted to create your own custom analytics reports for your clients or for yourself, you can do that where it'll send you a weekly piece of information. You can set what kind of information you want to log on yours. If you want to preview the report, you can send it to your email each week, each month whatever you want to schedule it to do, and you set them all in place. I'll show you one more because this one's pretty good, particularly if anyone's doing any sites that have got more media attribution, videos, podcasts, all that kind of stuff. This one's a really good one because in the media section, if I go here, we can see here, if you've got any media on the site, how many plays it's got, how many impressions, how much time people spent total playing it, finished it, play rates, but we can then go into more detail about the videos themselves. So we can see here, this is for a kid's story system. So we can see people have watched this video 6 times, it's 16 impressions. People generally watch about 40 seconds of it. But you can see the breakdown of them in terms of the videos and where those things come from. And we can also do the same for audio. So these have a lot of podcasts. So we can go through all the podcasts and we can see actually which are users actually viewing, how long did they averagely look at it, all that kind of stuff are all through here. And again, there's no additional settings. It just does all this stuff by default by putting in the standard script tag. Shows you all the users and the audience maps about where they're actually, accessing this content. We haven't really done too much of an A and B testing. If anyone's done A and B testing before, it just allows you to set certain classes or attributes in place where you can see if the activity is higher with one version compared to the other. But it does have all that functionality in place. We've got, I don't know, maybe 60 websites on this system so far. I would guess. Ballpark figure, but we're able to go through and look at all these statistics. We've also been building, because we've got access to the data, we've also got access to the database behind it. We've also been building our own custom reports outside of this system, and we can create different analytics and stuff like that. I was talking to one person, and they've been pushing it into a service called Elasticsearch, which is much faster and allows a much more granular view of data. But this is basically the system that I was sharing with you guys today, if anyone's not used it before. So Matomo itself is free for the base version, as long as you self-host it, and then there's like a hosted version. We're not affiliated. I don't get any commission or anything like that. I've got no referral codes or anything. We've got our own version of it that we've got, and we've bought all of the extensions of it because we found them all quite useful. There is also a tag manager system, similar as there is in Google Analytics, but this gives you a huge amount of breadth of settings and options that you can do with it. So whether you wanted to give different people access, whether you wanted to do different email reports, you want to set system requirements, update plugins. You can also create your own plugins if you have the skill set to do so. You can set what kind of privacy settings that you want in GDPR settings. You can manage all of the tracking codes and forms and everything from one place. And you can also look at any diagnostics and how you want to store that data and access it. So that's the system. That's what it's got. If anyone has any questions about, what we use it for or how it's useful, please do just ask.
Thank you. So basically, a bit of problem with the mic. So if anyone has any questions, I'm going to have to say it from over here. So does anybody have any questions? Ooh, yeah.
Do you have any issues with script blockers or privacy protection? And can you do anything to reconcile with
That's so much you want to say.
websites? There we go.
You know, come over here. Sorry, I'm going to make you come over. That's too much. I got script blockers, and that was it.
Do you have any issues with script blockers and privacy protection? Do you have any reconciliation with weblogs and things if people get missed out of the scripts?
So this system, so there's options in here where you can get it to, I guess, bypass those elements, things like Firefox where they block analytics by default on elements. There is ways to go around it. We actively don't. Everything that we put in place here works on what the user wants. So if the user says, I don't want to have analytics, we just actively don't track their analytics. It does give us less data than what things like Google do, who just force it regardless. But that's just the route we went down to be a little bit more compliant with GDPR, probably more than we possibly need to be. But we just stay with it. The good part about one of the good parts about why we do it this way, though, is those really, really, really annoying cookie banners that I'm sure all of us hate to add to websites. We don't have to do that. because we only track analytics for the usage. We don't track it for anything other than that. So we don't have to add cookie banners for these sites that we're using it, unless we do something else that's related to cookies. But it's all for usage. It's not for resell or anything like that. But yeah, not really. There's options to do it, but we don't actively do it.
You have genuinely sold it to me in the fact that I don't have to add those bloody banners anymore.
Yeah. We do you know, I think we actually just actively looked to this system so we don't have to do those banners anymore. That was pretty much our only selling point. As soon as they said that, I didn't care about the functionality. That was all bonus at the end of it.
Any other questions? Oh, by the way, would you mind not sharing anymore so we can?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Do you want me to come up?
Yeah, because he won't be able to see
Okay.
it there.
2 questions. Question 1 is, I think analytics are required under the e-privacy directive, ECR. So you might want to check the PCR regulations. It's not GDPR, slightly different. The other one is, the consent requirements. The other one is, how do you avoid getting personal data and referrers? And how do you avoid keeping that somewhere? Problems I've seen before is often if you have social media referrers, they include people's profile names. Or if you have websites which have security functions like reset passwords, they'll have reset password URLs appearing in referrers.
It's a good question, actually. I don't think I've actively fully looked at all those options. For the first point with the compliance stuff, I mean, I'll have to have a double check with the different compliancy options. From what we've been looking at, we are adhering to all the options through it, and that's the selling point that's on Matomo's sites as well. But I couldn't say I've gone through the full end-to-end process of those, but I will definitely have a look with what you've said anyway. The second one is with the links. I'm not actually 100% sure. I know the system itself attempts to remove certain links from its system. Or at least anonymize and encrypt some of that data, but I can't say I've actively seen some of those options in there in terms of what's there. I mean, the website would have to be pretty dreadful if forgot password resets allowed you to still use them after it was logged, though. Usually they'd be like single use throwaways or limited times, but yeah, I've not seen that stuff. The referral stuff from things like Facebook, we only get a small snippet of the URL. We only get where it's come from at a baseline. We don't get the full path for all of it. Things like get parameters and stuff like that. So some of that is limited on what we actively log.
Anyone else? Stunned silence. Love it. Right. Thank you so much.